Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us at Empower 2021. This past year has been a year of transformation. COVID accelerated the need and speed of digital transformation. It forced all of us to look at the way we do business and identify the areas that need to be changed, and in some cases, completely overhauled. It also reminded us that it is not enough to plan. We must become future-ready organizations today. We must be ready to adapt, update, and change our processes on the fly. We must continuously introduce new ideas, products, and services that will add value to our customers. And we must protect our information and processes from breaches and loss. These are the three pillars of future-ready organizations: agility, innovation, and security. We have heard a lot about each of these pillars and how important they are individually. But to be future-ready and thrive under any circumstance, you must have all three. Agility measures the pace at which organizations can change their workflows, evolving existing processes as well as introducing new processes. The combination of agility and innovation allow changes to take place in days or weeks rather than months or years. It also enables us to be prepared for disruptions, whether they are financial, economic, technological, or viral. Finally, an agile, innovative organization is nothing without security to protect and support the new agile framework. Achieving just one or two of these pillars have traditionally been a long journey for organizations, but today they are within reach now with Laserfiche Cloud. Here are a few stories of organizations that have leveraged the power of Laserfiche Cloud to thrive through the past year's unique circumstances while becoming more future-ready organizations.
What I would say is that TPERC has always been an agile company. From the day the pandemic started, we've actually never shut down our offices. One of the nice parts about Laserfiche and what we did for COVID was we created an online form that prospective patients that want to get tested would have to fill out. What that allowed us to do was make sure that we tested everyone that needed to be tested immediately, created a nice workflow that not only collected their insurance information, it actually had them sign consent before they ever showed up here, and cut down on what would have been a very tedious process and made it very streamlined.
When the COVID started, we have to transfer a lot of internal processes to the electronic format. For all these processes, we use Laserfiche to gather and process and streamline the flow of the information. Laserfiche enabled us to work remotely. The decision was pretty simple for me. If I can eliminate need for maintenance and have a scalable system that has a predictable cost, and I always inherit new functionality, this is why we choose cloud.
COVID really impacted our workflow because we weren't ready for not being able to access the paperwork that was being turned in. It felt like we were blind before Laserfiche. Having things in the cloud and people running the system and not having to maintain servers and updates and all of that has really helped. We actually increased enrollment. We were one of the highest community colleges in the state of Mississippi as far as enrollment for last spring, which was the time that we had to deal with this. And then into summer, we were up like 15%.
Future-ready organizations like the one we just heard are becoming more agile, more innovative, and more secure with Laserfiche Cloud. Today, we'll be talking more about how to use Laserfiche Cloud to make your organizations future-ready. And for self-hosted customers, we'll explain the transition path with hybrid systems. We're dedicated to equipping you with the tools your organization needs, not just to react and adapt to change, but to thrive through it. Be ready for whatever the future holds. and the future is happening in the cloud.
For several years now, we've been touting the new features ported from self-hosted products to Laserfiche Cloud, and how improved the Cloud Suite is from years previous. And now that Laserfiche Cloud is a full-featured and robust solution that touts all the benefits that have made Laserfiche a market leader in self-hosted ECM solutions for the past decade, I want to focus on what makes Laserfiche Cloud the solution of choice for organizations looking to accelerate their digital transformations into the next decade. Laserfiche Cloud comes ready to use. No figuring out how much load your users will put on the servers or how many servers you'll need. No equipment specs or hardware purchase orders. No operating systems, file systems, or databases to install, configure, and debug. It's ready to use day one. And once you start using it, you don't have to worry about maintaining it. Software updates are deployed on a regular basis, along with all the necessary security patches. Similarly, all customer data are protected by Laserfiche Cloud data backup procedures, which are executed multiple times a day, and backups are stored for 30 days across multiple availability zones. This is a level of reliability and availability inherent in a Laserfiche Cloud system that would be hard to match in any self-hosted system. Those are some of the operational advantages to the cloud, but the advantages are not limited to IT. So I'd like to use the rest of my time to talk about the business advantages of the cloud that are highlighted by several trends that we're seeing in the market today. Let me explain. The way we work was evolving before 2020, but this pandemic has only accelerated the evolution of work, and all indications point to cloud technologies as the platform that is best positioned to support how we'll work in the future. This future, as we've all experienced for ourselves, will include trends that cloud technologies are uniquely positioned to solve, like efficiently connecting people, systems, and data to drive innovation, expanding external collaboration with partners and customers, and accelerating process automation through the use of microservices. And I should note that these trends are part of a much larger movement proliferating across all industries. We know that many companies, large and small, are supporting a growing number of SaaS applications as part of their business application ecosystems. Data shows that companies are supporting up to 100 different SaaS applications on average, regardless of the organization's size. And we also know that this proliferation is being driven in part by the fact that line of business stakeholders and business users are increasingly influencing purchase decisions towards SaaS. This trend away from monolithic self-hosted platforms to SaaS to meet the needs of an evolving workforce is having the unintended consequence of creating a distributed business system landscape that requires an increased focus on integrations and collaborations between these disparate systems. And the way that Laserfiche is addressing this trend is through the support of multiple integration strategies, whether it's Laserfiche Cloud reaching out to the world or the world reaching out to Laserfiche Cloud. So I'm going to shift gears now and talk about a couple of specific Laserfiche integration technologies. Laserfiche introduced remote agent technologies in 2020, which extends the power of Laserfiche beyond the boundaries of the cloud to web services in the public internet, data sources in a corporate network, a legacy business system, or even our own self-hosted Laserfiche systems. Specifically, the remote agent technology extends Laserfiche Cloud workflow and enables processes to request data from any of these sources. When combined in a workflow, the remote agent technology becomes a powerful integration layer for automating and orchestrating business processes via Laserfiche Cloud. For example, with a remote lookup, a Laserfiche Cloud workflow process can call into a remote system via secure HTTP request to perform lookups on a local database and return the results to the workflow. And if you find yourself needing to support a legacy system that doesn't provide a modern integration technology like APIs, remote agent technologies can utilize workflow bots to initiate actions through the user interface of that legacy system. Those are just a couple of examples, but the possibilities are potentially unlimited. And when your business needs call for your enterprise system to integrate directly into Laserfiche Cloud repositories or process automation, we have Laserfiche APIs. I'm happy to announce that Laserfiche has begun the rollout of a complete set of RESTful web APIs that will support custom integrations across the suite of Laserfiche Cloud products. Customizations are often needed to automate tasks not natively supported by a product. This is especially true when remote systems need to collaborate across networks. Like if a Laserfiche customer needs metadata that is stored in their cloud repository to auto-populate in their ERP system. Or a claim processing solution that requires the operator to attach relevant documentation that is stored in their cloud repository. The claims process software can use the Laserfiche APIs to search the repository, return a list of related documents, and display those documents directly in the claims interface. The Laserfiche APIs are really the next generation of software development kit, or SDK for short, but provide a bit more functionality than is found in the SDK today, and comes with some significant advantages. Specifically, the wide adoption of RESTful web APIs through the software industry means your engineering team will be familiar with the protocols for making RESTful web API requests, can write them in the language and technology of their choice, and they'll be familiar with manipulating the JSON response. More importantly, the Laserfiche APIs will provide a unified and standardized approach to integrations across all products in the Laserfiche Cloud suite. For decades, Laserfiche has been the solution of choice for enterprises to capture, store, and share their documents, and remote agent technology and Laserfiche APIs represent the latest and modern approach to securely sharing data between your business partners and systems. And with the release of these technologies, Laserfiche's legacy as a best-in-class enterprise content management solution continues into the cloud. Now, I understand that there are existing Laserfiche customers who are unable to move to the cloud, but that doesn't mean that they can't take advantage of the benefits of cloud.
So Karl spoke to the three principles of agility, technological innovation, and security, and how these serve as the pillars of future-ready organizations. And Daniel just showed you how Laserfiche Cloud supports ensuring that these three pillars are there and ready to go for your organization. But perhaps Laserfiche Cloud isn't an option yet for everyone. Perhaps a system migration just isn't in the cards for you at this time. We also want to ensure that those of you who still need to use self-hosted systems aren't left behind in the meantime and have a path forward. And that's where Laserfiche 11 comes in. And I'm pleased to be able to announce the release of this newest version of our self-hosted platform. Now, you may ask, what does self-hosted have to do with cloud? Well, Laserfiche 11 adds a new hybrid architecture, providing a bridge between systems that allows all customers to start taking advantage of the intrinsic benefits of the Laserfiche Cloud system, including many features and innovations that are best provided as cloud services. So all of these products and features shown here will be available to self-hosted customers through the new hybrid architecture in Laserfiche 11, such as direct share, smart invoice capture, workflow bots, capture profiles, and a number of our recent integration activities, such as CRM integrations or integrations with Elution. And these will all be coming out iteratively with Laserfiche 11, starting with direct share. So now I want to take the opportunity to reintroduce some of these modules to you. So we initially released direct share on Laserfiche Cloud early last year, announcing it at Empower 2020. Direct share provides a way to share content with people outside of your immediate organization in a secure and tracked manner, whether that's your customers, your constituents, or partner organizations. You simply choose the document in the repository, who you want to share it with, provide a password and how long you want it to be available, and then those that you shared it with will receive an email containing a link to a password-protected site where they can view, access, and download the content you've shared with them. And most importantly of all of this is tracked and audited right alongside everything else in your Laserfiche repository. So now I'd like to show you how one of our customers, St. Louis Metropolitan Sewer District, is already using Direct Share to enhance their own business processes right now in Laserfiche Cloud.
We are the 4th largest sewer district in the nation. We have 7 wastewater treatment plants. And get this, every single day we treat 350 million gallons of water. For the first time in the history, we've been around since 1954, and for the first time in the history of the organization, we can send documents externally, securely, and safely, and we could have documents coming into the organization externally and securely. So those are both game changers. Previous to Direct Share, if I was, say, an attorney or even in my role, and I needed to send large amounts of data to one of our vendors, to one of our customers, how many emails would that take with so many attachments? Which again, is not a good way to share information, because once you send an attachment, you lose control over that. We're hoping to push out right now that external submission form is only for legal, kind of our pilot program, but why not have finance and operations and engineering all have their external submission forms so other vendors and suppliers can send large amounts of information directly and securely to MSD. So we're hoping this pilot program in legal will spread across the district as a whole. So I'm using Direct Share and I'm getting on there, and not only does Laserfiche tell me that my email went to the person that I'm sharing the information with, it tells me when the person downloaded the information, where I really know not only what I'm sending, but what action the customer is taking on the documents that I'm sending. So Direct Share is really one of those game changers.
Now, you may be wondering, how does this work in a hybrid scenario? Well, here you can basically see how this happens. You continue to sign in through the web client to your self-hosted repository. But when you share content through Direct Share, it's uploaded to the file sharing host located in Laserfiche Cloud. And that's where your external collaborators will access it from. And that's all there is to it. You continue to work entirely within your self-hosted system, but the overall process is able to take advantage of the benefits of a SaaS system with Laserfiche Cloud. And this is the same general idea with all of our modules, including those that tie into workflow as part of automated processes. You work within your self-hosted workflow system, and then those processes are sent to Laserfiche Cloud to perform the actions on them, and then any results are brought right back into your self-hosted system. And best of all, this all uses the same secure remote agent technology that Daniel spoke to previously. And because these are all cloud SaaS hosted features, they bring with them the same benefits provided to all cloud accounts. Any needed patches or updates will be applied automatically with no additional work needed by you. We can preemptively detect performance fluctuations or watch out for the latest security considerations and address them before they reach your system. And it removes the onus on your staff to cover all elements of, well, for example, securely hosting content to the outside world from within, say, your own network, as would be the case of Direct Share. Another recent cloud-hosted innovation that we've released recently that will be available to self-hosted customers through Laserfiche 11 is Smart Invoice Capture. Smart Invoice Capture is all about automating your AP process. You want to automate as much as possible. That's the end goal, because anytime you insert manual steps, everything just grinds to a halt. The thing about an AP process, though, is that it relies on invoices that are out of your control. They all have standard information on them, but every organization might provide an invoice where it's all in a slightly different position. And this means that every time you add a new vendor or they decide to change something, you have to stop and configure this particular invoice within your overall process. Well, this is where Smart Invoice Capture comes in. Smart Invoice Capture uses AI and machine learning technology to dynamically identify those key pieces of information that are present in all invoices, such as the purchase order number, a date, a total, and extract that so that you can use that for reporting, for retrieval, for classification. And because it uses AI, you don't need to update it every time you get a new invoice or an invoice changes. The system will detect where those key bits of information are without you having to go back in and add that manual configuration each time. So now let's look at how another one of our customers, Mercer Island School District, is currently using Smart Invoice Capture right now on Laserfiche Cloud.
My name is Tyrell Bergstrom. I'm the Executive Director of Finance and Operations for the Mercer Island School District. We are a small island next to Seattle. Our accounts payable invoice process, our approval process, when I first came into the district, that process usually took at least a week, sometimes more. It was prone to having invoices lost or misplaced or buried under other stacks of paper. Now that we have Laserfiche, when we get the invoice, we immediately scan it, deposit it into the repository and kick it into the form, or Smart Invoice Capture scans it. We validate the information that's been captured, click send, and it's on its way. And we've been seeing turnaround times of within a day. So we quickly adopted Smart Invoice Capture, and it was night and day. The ability to quickly capture information, and it was much closer to what we wanted as a district in terms of a product and a service, to be able to quickly scan an invoice and get it on its way. Our district's effort to become more technologically advanced and innovative in our processes is really an effort to help us be more thoughtful about what we're doing and why we're doing it. As we spend time tracking down invoices, as we spend time tracking down forms for field trips or transcripts, or tracking down student action reports or permission slips, that's that much less time that we have to spend focusing on ways to better our service to the kids. So as we are innovating new ways of being more efficient, and as we're looking at the processes and migrating our processes from pen and paper to workflows and forms, A, it gives us an opportunity to think about what we're doing it and why we're doing it, and B, how can we be more efficient about it? The less time that we have to spend thinking about what we're doing and why we're doing it is more time that we can spend about thinking about what we want to achieve. What do we want our kids to get out of the educational experience?
Since we launched Smart Invoice Capture in the cloud last year, we've continued to innovate it. Recently, we added vendor identification, which allows you to match invoices with specific vendors in your database, using the GL codes to auto-populate all the information about that vendor through lookups for use later in your processes. Now, obviously, we're really excited about the new hybrid capabilities that are available to all of you with Laserfiche 11. But Laserfiche innovations don't end there. Next, let's listen into a discussion that goes through a number of our new enhancements and features, both new and upcoming, in the context of a contract management process.
With the amount of presentations we've done from home this year, I think I might just have enough equipment for us to start producing our own show. Welcome to the Laserfiche Empower Keynote podcast. I'm Anita Chang.
And I'm Brianna Blanchard.
We've heard a lot in this keynote about the vision for Laserfiche, and we're really excited for it. The features that are released each year are all about getting us closer to that vision. So what's new now?
Since last Empower, we've had 4 major releases to Laserfiche Cloud, as well as several minor ones in between, since it's so easy to push software out that way. We've also released Laserfiche 11 for our self-hosted customers. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
Wonderful. So if this is a podcast, what's our first episode?
Let's start with a horizontal scenario, such as contract management for vendors.
That's perfect. We already have plenty of customers using Laserfiche for contract and vendor management, and several of our new features help take this even further. Even if they're not familiar with a particular use case, there are a lot of similarities between it and other processes. For example, there's a lot of approval steps, and there are plenty of documents involved. In a vendor management process, we have people in multiple departments in our internal organization, and people at the vendor's company as well. Someone makes a request for a new contract, the legal team handles that request, and when the contract term ends, we might renew it. And while they're not a part of the process, IT and a process designer support the whole operation. We'll need to cover contract requests, drafting, approval, and renewal at the end. I don't want to get too detailed about the process steps since we're mostly looking at how new releases are enhancing our tools across the board. So let's dive into the features. Where should we start?
I think the best place is when the users first get into the system.
That makes sense to me.
We'll actually start off in Salesforce since that's where the vendor and contact information live. So naturally, that's where the requester will go to launch the whole process. Once they click on that link, they'll be taken to the cloud sign-in page. In this case, the user is accessing Laserfiche for the very first time. That link has provided them the way to automatically fill the account ID. When they click the single sign-on link, they don't have to log in again because it's using the same single sign-on as Salesforce. And behind the scenes, they've been granted a license according to rules that IT has configured. This seamless first login uses the new just-in-time licensing and single sign-on options and means there's no need to file an IT help desk for every user. Then, as you'd expect, they start off with a form. In this case, the form is going to leverage information from Salesforce to reduce back and forth. We've talked in the past about our Salesforce integration. This form is configured so that way, when the user enters the name of the vendor, it pulls up information like contacts, legal business name, and vendor ID that are harder to remember.
It sounds like this removes a lot of friction from onboarding our users, making it easier for them to start working in Laserfiche right away. Okay, now we can submit the request for our legal team to review, but they're going to need a lot more than just that initial form to create a legally binding contract. They'll have conversations with the vendor, so they need to make those emails part of the record. And then they're going to have the contract itself. Keeping track of all of those attachments and what needs to go where can be a challenge. As someone who fills out a lot of forms, I could definitely use some reminders on what I'm supposed to be providing to my legal team. And I know we have a great new solution for that.
Absolutely. We have a new feature coming soon we're calling file sets. When working on the task, users see a list of the required documents. They can then pull up associated documents from within the repository, select the right one, and associate it with the current process. They can also upload new documents using a full-featured import dialog, whichever document types they're missing. Documents will then be added directly to the repository rather than being archived later as a separate step. This means those new documents are available to other processes right away and ensures that the repository retention settings take effect immediately.
That's great. I hear from people all the time that they need to reference related documents even when they're working within a process. So it'll be much easier to be able to do all that from within the task. How do we get everyone to sign the final contract when it's done?
While we already have a DocuSign integration in the repository, sometimes it makes more sense for this to happen from within process automation. Coming in the next year, they'll be able to use process automation to automate sending to DocuSign. Speaking of process design, you have some experience with that, right, Anita?
Sure do.
So how would you go about designing a contract management process like this one?
I think the new features in the Forms Designer would make it very easy to put together. Building the request form is even more straightforward now that the enhanced Forms Designer allows for click and drag configuration when I'm putting all my fields on the canvas with no CSS required. And since settings like field rules and themes all live in the same place, getting from the brainstorming stage to a polished form is pretty darn fast.
That's great. It covers the vendor information fields, the form logic, and even the internal branding. What about those related documents you mentioned earlier, using file sets?
Like we talked about, to make it easier to work with existing documents, you can replace a generic file upload field with a file set. File sets can provide a window to the repository, give more guidance to the requester, and allow for bigger uploads. When you're configuring a file set for a process, you can specify each document type a submitter could upload, whether or not they're required, and other logic, such as maximum number of a certain document type.
Those options will definitely help the requester include all the right documents in their request form. So far, we've talked a lot about things that help with the initial request, but in the beginning, we outlined a wide range of people involved in this process. What about pain points for the legal team? For example, I know that some contracts use fillable PDFs to handle boilerplate, and in the cloud right now, those have to be downloaded, filled out, and re-uploaded. Is there anything new we can use to improve that?
Of course. While we're also able to mail merge information into a Word document, sometimes you already have the PDF template on hand. The expanded document merge workflow activity in Cloud now supports those fillable PDFs. The request form can be mapped to variables in the PDF template for this contract type, so the fillable fields for vendor name, terms, and signatories for all parties automatically get the right information.
That seems like a much smoother way to work with those templates. Once this contract is ready, how do we automate sending to DocuSign?
After the final approval step, we can pass everything to a workflow to launch the signature process. This takes the information from the forms process, packages it up, and sends it to DocuSign so we don't have to send it out ourselves. We can automate this entire process instead of manually creating the envelope and waiting around for a vendor to sign it.
That definitely seems like a time saver. So our contract is signed and executed. What do we do next?
We've just about reached the end of our process. When the time comes to renew our contract, Laserfiche can give us a reminder, of course. But until then, since we'll also be managing some of our vendor details in our ERP system, we want to make sure that any updates to their contact info there also get pushed into Laserfiche. And in this case, our web APIs are going to be key in making sure our systems stay connected, allowing us to use Laserfiche as our core platform for the entire process, no matter where we input our information.
Well, to call back to two of Karl's pillars earlier, that all sounds like an innovative, agile approach that looks ready for the future. And our API architecture and identity management features contribute to that critical third pillar of security.
Now is a great time to make sure your Laserfiche strategy incorporates these three pillars so that you're future ready. Brianna, can you recap the features we talked about today?
Of course. So you can start off by more efficiently managing and authenticating your users with our recent identity management improvements, such as new SAML provider support and identity management features like just-in-time provisioning. You can already innovate faster in the cloud with the improved forms designer experience. This quarter, you'll be able to expand the way that processes and documents interact with file sets and forms and fillable PDF document merge. Finally, keep an eye out for the DocuSign integration and workflow coming later this year. Thanks for listening. Back over to you, Karl.
As you can see, we're excited about making everyone future ready, where organizations powered by Laserfiche continue to thrive. We are improving Laserfiche Cloud, as well as bringing these cloud features to our on-premises software. To recap our timeline, the following are available right now. Laserfiche 11, including hybrid features, starting with Laserfiche Direct Share, the upgraded Forms Designer, and Okta and SAML support. By spring, we'll be rolling out Web API and file sets. Finally, this summer, bulk account provisioning and account updating. I hope you enjoy the exciting content we have in store for you at Empower, and look forward to seeing how you can take your digital transformation and digital agility to the next level using Laserfiche.